Hello everybody, happy Saturday evening. We do have a messy wintry mix coming to much of the Commonwealth tomorrow that's projected to bring freezing rain, sleet, and even the risk for accumulating snowfall, which will make travel treacherous across many interstate and roadways, especially tomorrow afternoon and evening. So if you have any travel plans tomorrow, you may want to consider those plans, move them or cancel them because travel will be messy tomorrow. Anyway, let's get started with what's going on and what is leading to this wintry mix tomorrow. So right now we are looking at the national radar and satellite imagery across the lower 48. So the big thing that's sticking out to you probably is all this rain that is moving across portions of the Midwest this afternoon. We do have this low pressure center sitting in about western Missouri at this hour, bringing a lot of precipitation up ahead of it into portions of Illinois, the Mississippi River valleys, and even into portions of Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. So this will be the system that will be slowly making its way eastward over the next 24 hours that will bring this risk for precipitation to our region. In fact, on the northern end of this system, across especially portions of northeastern Iowa, southwestern Wisconsin, they're getting a pretty significant ice storm with this storm. There is so far been a lot of accidents in this area. Ice is covering roadways, highways. Some areas are seeing over a quarter inch of ice this afternoon across those regions. So luckily we will not be seeing that large of an ice threat here, especially if you're outside of the lower highlands, but still this will still be a very impactful storm as it makes our way. So we can play the loop as it's been moving through the Midwest this afternoon. As you can see, slowly making its way eastward. We're still sitting under a pretty strong high pressure system over the northeast. Many areas seeing almost record high pressures being set in December. This low is between 1048 and 1050 millibars, so it's providing that fresh injection of cold air, and it's pretty strong, and that's why we're going to be seeing that wintry mess tomorrow. So that is really going on this afternoon. Let's jump over to the models and see what's really driving this system. So driving over to Tropical Tidbits, right now we're looking at one of the model projections. So as you can see, we do have that low pressure system beginning to make its way eastward over the next 24 hours. So progressing through the time throughout tonight into tomorrow morning, this will slowly make its way eastward. And the reason we are seeing such a winter potential with the storm, let me jump to the surface anomalies. You mentioned how I mentioned the high pressure system just a few seconds ago. It's a rather large high pressure system, and it's pretty expansive and it's very strong. And in general, this will have a major factor in the precipitation types tomorrow, because as this high pressure system is sitting in the northeast tomorrow, still pretty strong, 1049, maybe 1050 at times, pretty strong high pressure system. It's going to be funneling in a lot of cold air, especially down the east coast into much of central Pennsylvania, eastern Pennsylvania. You're going to have that really cold air just locked in at the surface. And that is due because we have Appalachians running through this spine right here, and cold air is very dense. It wants to sink, so we have that cold air sinking down to the surface east of the Appalachians, and it's creating that cold air damming effect. If you've ever heard that term, it's when cold air just gets dammed behind the mountains. It's not able to be skirted out because it is that very dense cold air, and this low pressure system will help to advect warmer air into the Ohio Valley. And that is why, even though Pittsburgh's still under this regime of this high pressure, you're going to have that warm air into the lower levels. That cold air damming effect isn't really seen west of the Appalachians. It's really mostly east of the Appalachians where we have that cold air damming effect. And that is part reason why central PA, northern PA is under the greater risk, and Pittsburgh is generally seeing maybe a little bit of freezing rain, but mostly a cold rain event. So that's really more of a setup. And playing out forward, you can see how into Monday, late Sunday evening into early Monday morning, still seeing that high pressure bring those significant effects into east of the ridges primarily, but western PA with that low pressure system, it will begin to slowly weaken because it will be fighting with this high pressure. It's not a very strong low pressure system. I mean, it's barely showing up on the map today as is. It's 1014 millibars. Tomorrow it's just going to pretty much fizzle out, but it's still going to have that precipitation with it. and we're going to see other mesoscale features allowing for that precipitation to continue into central PA, but still that high pressure system holding on. It's really going to lock in that cold air, especially across much of central and northern Pennsylvania. So let's jump over to our future radar. So we'll begin things off with this evening. So the time should be seen in the top central portion of your screen. So starting off this evening, again, nothing going on, still high pressure. It's going to be another cold night. Many areas will dip into the 20s, teens, maybe some areas could see in single digits tomorrow morning. So playing it out throughout the night, not much going on. But as we head further west, as I said, we do have that low pressure system beginning to weaken, but slowly head our way, bringing mostly rain into Ohio, but precipitation will begin to move into portions of western Pennsylvania by around 11 o'clock. But like I said, the best chance for cold air damming is east of the ridges. So portions of Pittsburgh, you're going to be starting as cold rain, maybe some freezing rain north and west of Pittsburgh across those slightly higher elevations, where surfaces may be still around or below freezing for a little bit period of time. But those areas we'll just see a trace of ice, but still can make for tricky travel. Moving on by lunch hour into 1 o'clock, seeing mostly rain across western PA, but again, still, like I showed on my ice forecast map just an hour ago, I did include some areas west and north of Pittsburgh under a trace of ice possible. So even though this model is showing rain, I still think temperatures will be cold enough for some icing there. But this is when it starts to really get kicked in, especially across south central PA. Most areas will begin as snow, but as that warm air aloft, especially about 3,000 feet above our heads, begins to kick in, you're going to see that precipitation change over to sleet and freezing rain, especially in the higher elevations where there's going to be a potential risk for a significant ice storm. But again, 1 o'clock, still beginning filling across south central PA, and that will quickly move northward. By 4 o'clock, State College is in the snow, St. Mary's beginning to see snow, Williamsport beginning to see snow. So this snow will kick in. It'll kick in really fast, and it could come down moderate, heavy at times. So driving conditions will quickly deteriorate, especially as we head into 3 and 4 and 5 o'clock. This particular model is not too good at dissecting between freezing rain and snow, but I guess much of the elevations, this probably will not be falling as snow. This will probably be falling as sleet and freezing rain. As you can see, freezing rain falling across the northwest plateau as well. So that's by 4 o'clock. By 5 o'clock, really getting heavy snow falling across portions of south central PA into central PA. We're going to have multiple rounds of steadier and heavier snow. That's going to really add up some totals across those regions. But across south central PA down to the capital region, Chambersburg, York, seeing mostly a cold rain, just because you guys are a little bit too far south to get really that strong cold air damming event. But let me put on the drawing tool real quick, and you can really make out where the ridges are by just looking at this map. And it's because of that, again, cold air damming. You can see how the cold air is just dammed right along and east of the Appalachian Mountains. And that's, again, there's that high pressure system just to the, again, northeast, and it's really beginning to funnel in that cold air. But if you're farther south, in Harrisburg, southeast PA, York, Chambersburg, you're too low of an elevation and you're a bit displaced from that cold area. So that's why you're just going to see a mostly cold rain event. Again, with that high pressure and funneling a lot of cold air, especially east of the Appalachians, east of the ridges, that's where you're going to see the best threat for wintry mix. So let's go back to the future radar. So now by 6 o'clock, snow continuing to fall across much of central PA, beginning to get up to the PA-New York border by the evening hours. And these darker whites, or these lighter whites, or say darker blues, that's really moderate to potentially even heavier snow. Would not be surprised to see maybe some areas reach possibly an inch per hour rates for a brief period of time, which again will make travel really treacherous. And again, heavy icing continuing across much of the spine of the Appalachians, into especially Somerset and Cambria counties, where over a quarter-inch of ice will be possible. And as we head into 8 o'clock, might start to see some mixing issues with sleet into Altoona and State College regions, but still predominantly mostly snow. Snow continuing across Williamsport. And as we head through the night, we will eventually see the cold air begin to be scurried out of the Commonwealth. It's because we're going to see continually southerly winds coming with this low pressure system. So let me draw that for you. So even though it's going to be a pretty weak low pressure system, but with a low pressure system, you're going to have southerly winds on the eastward side of this pressure system. So that's why you're going to see eventually warm air will win out, and we're going to see that transition to just a plain cold rain throughout the night. But still, by 11 o'clock, still seeing, especially some areas, still seeing potentially heavier snowfall rates by 11 o'clock. But then as we head into the overnight hours, especially by midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., by many areas by the morning commute, most areas was just either precipitation will come to an end, or you're going to see just mostly a plain cold rain. Again, as temperatures begin to warm up above freezing. But let me play it up for you again without all my comments. So again, precipitation begins to entering western PA by around 11 to noon. South central PA, snow beginning by 1 or 2 o'clock. Continuing to spread northward by 4, 5, 6 o'clock. Again, probably should be off the roads by then across much of central and northern Pennsylvania, and we're just going to see continual rounds of snow as we head to the overnight hours before that eventual warm air takes over, and we see many areas just change over to rain, and then just dry air takes over. Then most areas will just end up being dry by Monday afternoon. But again, with temperatures warming above freezing, conditions should be pretty good across the entire areas affected by this snow and ice by, let's say, like 10 or 11 a.m. on Monday, because then we'll see temperatures rise up into the mid to upper 30s by mid-afternoon on Monday. So most of the snow and ice will be melting. So if you're a snow lover, you might want to get out tomorrow afternoon and evening, get out playing it, because it will be going away probably by Monday. By Tuesday, we'll see some areas get into the 50s, so that snow will be long gone by then. So let's look into my forecast maps and what I've issued so far. So let me change. Okay, there we go. So these are currently the winter weather alerts issued by local National Weather Service offices. So much of the state has a winter weather advisory. Western PA, you guys, these counties got a winter weather advisory because of the threat for some ice accretion, especially at the onset. Like, even though the model had rain, it's possible that temperatures at the surface will be at or below freezing to start. So expect potential rough travel. Again, any amount of freezing rain can make for dangerous travel on untreated roadways, especially overpasses and bridges where there's really no ground under them. They can be even colder than the ground surface, so you might want to take precautions going, especially over bridges and overpasses and untreated roadways across Northwest PA. And then much of central PA, you guys have winter weather advisories due to the mix for ice and snow. The heaviest snow will probably be across much of central Pennsylvania. And again, Somerset County and down into portions of Maryland have winter storm warnings. This is where there could be a 1/4 inch of ice or more on top of the few inches of snow that will be possible. Especially if you live in this winter storm warning. So much of the turnpike goes through this winter storm warning. You might want to be off the roadways tomorrow, because not only will there be the threat for very dangerous, maybe impossible travel conditions due to very heavy icing, there could be trees coming down, and there could also be the threat for power outages just because of that ice getting on those branches and trees and just hanging them down. And we could see those threats again for potential trees coming down and power outages. So generally, if you're in this either purple or blue, pink tomorrow counties, you just might want to stay home tomorrow. Probably would not be a good day to be out on the roadways, just because of that. Again, even though some areas will see 2 to 4 plus inches of snow, the biggest threat will be that ice, because again, any amount of ice can make dangerous travel conditions. I mean, you could easily spin out and lose control of your vehicle. Snow, there's at least some traction, but ice is the most dangerous winter phenomenon out there. In terms of my snowfall forecast, I'll probably update this either later this afternoon or evening. Again, 2 to 4 inches is generally expected across much of central into portions of northern PA. The valleys, especially across northeast PA into eastern PA, could see a little bit less, just because the transition to rain will be a little bit more quicker. And generally no snow expected across western PA, is just a predominantly ice event. And again, predominantly ice event across the lower highlands as well. So again, not a lot of snow, but it will be coming down pretty quick at times, because again, moderate to heavy rates at times. It will make for very tricky travel. So again, please it's possible just stay off the roadways tomorrow. Unless it's something of an emergency, probably just stay home, just because roads will be rather tricky and icy. Again, temperatures were below freezing all weekend, so roads surfaces are very, very cold. Even though they might be treated, they might just get covered in snow and ice again as piles come through. And in terms of the ice accretion forecast, many areas will see at least a trace or a coating of ice. Again, any amount of ice on untreated roadways will make for dangerous travel. So even though some areas may only see a trace, especially across western PA, still overpasses, bridges will be very dangerous, and even untreated roads will be dangerous. And then heavier icing across much of central PA, where there could be greater than a hundredth of an inch to maybe a tenth of an inch, but probably most of, especially across probably most of this area, you'll probably see closer to a hundredth of an inch, probably than a tenth of an inch, just because it'll be mostly a snow event. But again, maybe a hundredth to maybe a few hundredth tenths of an inch of ice will be possible in these areas. But the biggest concern is Cambria and Somerset counties, especially the ridge tops. You could see a quarter inch or more of icing. This will lead to very, very hazardous, if not impossible, travel conditions, which will make for, again, a treacherous commute. Probably just avoid traveling here at all tomorrow, these two counties, just because it's going to be very dangerous travel. And just not for the travel, with the heavier ice expected, there could be power outages and there could be tree damage with the weighing down of those trees and power lines with the ice accretion. So might just want to be staying home tomorrow. Lots of winter weather on the way. Again, snow, ice, and even some sleet could be mixed in. So that is all I have you here this evening. Again, stay tuned for updates. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. But again, tomorrow, majority of the state probably should be staying home. Just be off the roadways. Don't be traveling, especially with the ice and snow. It's probably not best to be out there. Anyway, stay tuned, follow for more updates, and reach out with any questions.